This is a 15-gallon nano reef tank, and the first thing I'd like to point out about this video today is that this light should definitely be hung and not placed on top of the tank as you see it here. We just got this one out of the box and are just doing a little video to show you how to use the controls on the light. So if you want to see how to set it up on a stand and the full unboxing, that video will come at a later date. This one's just to get you guys familiar with the controls on this. Now we want to get into talking about the appearance of this light. So the first thing I noticed about this light is that it's very bright. I have it operating at about 40% right now, and as you can see, it's very bright. The corals all like it, and that is quite enough to illuminate all the things in the tank. This is a very intense light, so you're going to want to make sure that you acclimate it to your tank. As I was saying, I have this light operating at about 40% right now, and that's only after acclimating it up from starting in the 20s.
Across the world, focus on ya, light you up, shine like a pearl, feeling something like a revolution. I just want to make a contribution.
Alright, let's get into some of the controls of this light. This light will go into like a sleep mode while nothing's around it. It is still working, it is still on. It is still on the timer function that it has, and all you do to wake it up out of the sleep mode is you're just going to come press OK, and as you can see, the little screen will illuminate there. To bring up the menu, we just hit the OK button, and that brings up our numerical menu here. Running down, we have brightness, power on and off, night mode, dimmer, timer, and system. We'll go through each one of these to make sure you guys have a feel for it. So as you can see on our menu, number one is brightness, and if we select it, it's just going to show you all of your channels, and these are each individual spectrum channels on the light. They're going to show you what they're at based on percentages. Right now, this light is operating at 40% on all spectrums. The number two setting on the menu is power on and off. This one's pretty self-explanatory. To switch between each of the options, you're just gonna hit plus or minus, and that will take you to power off. As you can see, that shuts down the light. It's great if you're doing a tank blackout or something like that. You don't have to unplug the light or do any of that. And if you want it back on, you just select on from the menu and hit OK, and it goes right back to your timer mode. Number three is night mode. It's the same, just a little switch to go between on and off there with the plus minus. And if you turn it on, the whole light goes into a blue night mode. If you hit escape, we go back to timer mode. Dimmer mode. This mode will temporarily overrule your timer mode if you select it. As you can see, all the spectrums come up to 100%, and you could go through them like this. You hit OK to select your first spectrum, and once you've changed the number with the plus or minus, you can hit OK and it'll move on down the line. Once again, when you're done with all your settings there, you can hit escape and it goes back to your timer settings. This mode is great if you want to practice with some of your settings without having to set anything in stone on the timer function. Menu item number 5 is going to be our timer mode, and this is where I'll show you how to set the time of sunrise and sunset and get into a little bit more about how this light works. Alright, so let's get into the timer mode here on this light. As you can see, our options on the timer menu are sunrise time, sunset time, sunlight, moonlight, and time preview. So sunlight and moonlight are where you're going to set your settings for what you want it to be like in the daytime and the nighttime. And sunrise time and sunset time are how you're going to set your times to go between these two settings. This light only has two settings, one for sunrise, one for sunset. Then you can also choose your settings for sunlight and moonlight. So for sunrise time, we're going to select OK. And as you can see, it gives you the option to change the times on the clocks here. It does work on a 24-hour time schedule. So the morning time is going to be in the lower digits, and you'll have to go all the way up through the 24-hour digits to figure out your evening times. And as you can see, I just hit OK here to go through and select which one I want to select. And if I want to change the time at all, I use the plus and minus keys. Hit escape when you're done. Moving down the list to sunset time, it's exactly the same. Set your time when you want your sunset to start and then when you want it to end. And these settings will be full moonlight settings. Once again, you can move up and down with the plus and minus keys and hit escape when you're done. The sunlight function tells you what your spectrums are all going to be set at during the time of day that your timer is set to be on sunlight. You hit OK to select the first one. You can move the percentage up or down with the plus and minus keys, and then hit OK when you're done to move on to the next one. These spectrums are outlined in your user guide, and they do a pretty good job of making sure that the correct colors are on the correct letters. Go ahead and hit escape when you're done. And it's the same thing for the moonlight settings. As you can see, I've taken some of the spectrums out for moonlight because I want to let my corals relax and soak up some of those blues in there during sunset. And if you want to go to time preview, it'll just give you a 5-minute demonstration of your full timer settings. As you go through, it'll start and it'll condense 24 hours down to 5 minutes and show you what your full light cycle will look like. Hit escape at any time to go back out to your timer settings. Now once your timer settings are set, you've previewed it, you like it, you hit escape, and your light automatically operates on that timer setting, and that is the default setting. If we go down to system options, you can see the time that it is. You'll have to set that time just like all the other ones using the plus and minus keys, your date, all of that. It keeps pretty good track of all this stuff, and it works. Load default, if you hit OK and load the default there, that just puts it back on the default setting that the light came with out of the box. The temperature is going to tell you the internal temperature of the light and at what speed the fan is currently operating. You don't want these to get too out of control. The pilot light setting is just the light on the front here that tells you whether or not it's on or off. There's a simple toggle on that as well. Language, I'm not sure if they offer this light in any other languages yet, but I have it in English. And the version of the software is 1.1. The standby time is how long you want the LEDs to stay on before the display goes into the sleep mode that I was talking about. We have it set to 30 minutes right now. And your OLED brightness is just the brightness of your LED screen on the light itself. You can hit escape to get back out to the main menu. And then hit escape to get back to your timer display, and it shows you that it's on timer setting number 2 and that the next one will be timer setting number 3. It catalogs these as timer settings 1 being your sunrise start, timer setting 2 as being your sunrise end, so you will be at full sunlight, timer setting 3 at your sunset start, and timer setting 4 at your sunset end, so you'll be at full moonlight. The number on top just shows you the time of day that it is in its cycle. This light has a 24-inch by 24-inch coverage area, and from what I know about it, is great for nano tanks 20 gallons and under. If you want to use it on a bigger tank, that's certainly possible. The light is intense enough, it's definitely bright enough. You just probably want to go with 2 or more for an adequate coverage area. And one thing that folks like a lot in these tanks is called shimmer. And for that you just need some surface agitation. So I've turned a power head on and you can see how the surface agitation creates that little shimmer throughout the water. More surface agitation is going to give you more of this effect, and less is obviously going to give you less. This is the shimmer that you see with the light set at 40%. And I do want to show you guys what this light is capable of, so we have turned it up to 100% just for a short time here so we can demonstrate what it looks like. This is with the power head on, showing you the shimmer at 100% and how bright this light really is. As you can see, it makes a lot of these things really stand out and grows some nice coraline in the aquarium. So here's the light operating at 100% with the power head on to give you the shimmer effect. This is just an example of what this light is capable of, but we want to make sure that we acclimate everything in our tank up to this level of lighting. If you don't, it can cause great stress levels for all the inhabitants. Some of your corals really might not like it. Like I said, we're only at 40% right now and we're still working up to this range.